This is the Star Wars The Black Series General Grievous in the 1/12 or 6-inch scale. This is figure D1. Interesting numbering on the box. Probably deluxe one. Back at the packaging. Okay. I picked up this figure at Our Toys, and it cost me about $46. So let's get him out of packaging. So, as always, me and my dumb luck, I get another frozen joint, and this time it's the first right shoulder. It was frozen. I tried to bend it outwards, and boom, joint broken right away. I mean, just me and my dumb luck with these quality issues with Transformers and Star Wars, and it's still sort of attached because it's attached to that bottom piece and it hasn't ripped off completely. But do be very careful of your General Grievous figures once you get them. And I should have been more patient. I tried to wiggle it out, but I guess the paint just got stuck too much, and now it's sort of moving, but the damage has already been done and it's broken. So I'm gonna have to secure another one. And here's the figure out of the box, and despite one of the right shoulders breaking off because of a frozen joint, I'm still able to pose the figure in a very dynamic pose. And, you know, quite frankly, it is still a very aesthetically pleasing and very accurate rendition of the general of the droid army, General Grievous. It's a great sculpt. I mean, it has a lot of good qualities and it has a lot of bad qualities. So we're going to talk about the good and the bad at the same time. So, good thing about this one is it is a good sculpt. It is a very accurate rendition of General Grievous, and I'm actually quite pleased with it. In terms of articulation, there's a lot of joints involved. They've put a lot of articulation in the figure to get him in a lot of poses. So the head sculpt, it's on a ball joint. It's got another ball joint at the base of the neck. That's pretty cool. It's got a ball jointed upper torso, no waist swivel. The shoulders are actually on a ball joint. Each of the shoulders is on a ball joint. It feels like it's a swivel joint, but it kind of moves slightly up and down. So I'm going to call it a ball joint, but it's mostly a swivel. And then you've got this outward hinge joint, and this one that I broke, I was actually able to super glue it. I super glued it right here at the crack, and I super glued the one on top, so it can still move forward and backward, but the outward motion is no longer there for obvious reasons. So the elbows, they do move on a hinge. It's a good bend. There's also a swivel right there. There is, instead of a wrist swivel, they put a forearm swivel. And that's present in all the arms. So that's pretty cool. I thought that was pretty nice. The bad thing about it, it does feel a little bit flimsy. I mean, I would give fair warning to everyone to just be very careful with the joints. I mean, look at it. They're very, very thin. And as time goes by, I think, you know, I hope it doesn't, but these kinds of plastics, they do tend to deteriorate and, you know, they do break off. And again, when you open a Grievous out of the box, just make sure to be extra gentle with the joints when you're testing them out, if they're frozen or not. And don't do what I did, and I forced the joint out and it just broke. But you know what? To me, that's just poor quality control. I mean, why are there frozen joints? I mean, I guess, I don't know. I mean, it's 1 in a million, I suppose. And I'm just a magnet for all these faulty Hasbro products, and just my luck, really. The hips are on a ball joint. That's pretty cool. But the bad thing about the hips is it doesn't give you a lot of range of motion in terms of the angle in which it can do the splits. Forward, backward is fine. It can go up to his chest, back up here. I mean, that's all well and good. But when you're trying to pose him, he can only do the splits here. It's less than 90 degrees, about 45 degrees, which kind of sucks because I'm always looking for that thigh swivel just to give him a wider stance, and I can't. Okay, the knees are on double joints that can go up to here. That's pretty cool. Go up to there. The ankle has an extra joint up here, and the lower ankle, I believe, is on a ball hinge joint, but I'm not gonna force it. It's a little tight. It does swivel most of the time, but I guess it can go up and down a little bit. Yeah, it's a little frozen. It's a little tight on my copy, and effectively it's just a swivel. So with that, the arms are extremely posable, yet the legs are very difficult to pose, simply because there's a lack of range of motion for that hip joint. There's no thigh swivel. There's no knee swivel. And you're left to just swivel the feet to various positions so that you can get him in a stance. Also, one thing I will note is they've learned their lesson from the 1/18 scale 3.75-inch General Grievous figures, and that they've made the plastic for the feet, they've made it a little bit harder. It's actually quite stiff, and normal stances he'll hold. I mean, he's not going to topple over, but in a very dynamic pose, the slightest touch is gonna topple him. And that's the importance of the thigh swivel or the knee swivel, just to give, or a wider hip joint, just to give him a range of variability in stance. And the best I can do with that crouching stance is just this, and it kind of looks awkward. I just wish it was a little bit bigger, but you know, that's nitpicking. Okay, talking about the sculpt again, I said I thought it was actually great, and the best part of the sculpt, I think, is this head sculpt. I absolutely love it. I think they nailed it with this one. If you are sifting through several on the pegs, one thing to note is for the head sculpt, the ears, or these parts, are made of soft PVC material, and make sure you pick one that has the straightest one. Otherwise, you'll have to, I've seen ones that are bent like this or bent downwards. It can easily be fixed with that boiling water or cold water method, but it's going to be a pain just to do it. So just right off the get-go, pick one that's straight enough, which is what I did. Okay. The other thing I did notice is these two panels right here. There are some that have one panel higher than the other. Like for instance, this one, I've seen one that have higher, too high like that, or too low. So make sure you choose one that has equidistant panels, or one that doesn't have one higher than the other. It's a little bit difficult to see because the cape is draped over it. Just be patient with it. Okay. Other than that, the sculpt looks fine. It's very difficult to say in packaging whether you got a good one or not. You'll just have to open it up. Okay. These feel like they've just been super glued, so they kind of hinder the articulation a little bit, but that's fine. Okay, on to the paint apps. Paint apps are actually pretty interesting. You get some nice realistic face painting technology for the eyes, and if I may say so, a little bit of the weathering on his face. These scratches on his nose, sometimes they're a little bit skewed too low or too high, so just be wary with that. Pick one that's acceptable for you. But the eyes, out of all the ones I've seen, the eyes seem to be perfect, and I don't see anything wrong with it. I do love the weathering that's on top of his eyes right there. It feels like it's veins and sort of like that. Okay, one thing you should note also is the silver paint on the mouth. There are some silver paint that overlaps too much way to the left or to the right. I've seen one that the silver paint for this left side of his mouth is way too much out to the side and you barely see it. Just be aware of those. I mean, it's nitpicking. It can be a problem for some collectors who are really into the paint apps. And like me, I tend to be very picky with it. Another thing you need to look out for are the black paint apps. Make sure they're evenly painted on the line where they should be painted. The ones I've seen for the eyes, some have like very dark right stripe, and then the left stripe is very light. So just make sure you pick one that's even. And this one, the one on his neck, it's a little bit hidden in the cape when in packaging, but you got to make sure that the black paint is where it's supposed to be and doesn't overlap where it shouldn't be. So in terms of paint apps for the upper portion, that's about it. That's pretty good. You get some weathering here and there. I thought that was pretty interesting. One thing I did not like is the silver paint that they used for the thighs. And this is supposed to be like battle damage or worn out, but it does look like silver mucus or something like that, and I was a little bit disappointed with this one. And you get to see it more on the ankles and all that, and it's the same thing they did with the War for Cybertron Siege Optimus Prime. And as you can see, they've put a ton of silver paint, just splotches everywhere here and there. I mean, I know what they're going for, it's like weathered metal and all that, but it's just not doing the job very well. It feels like it's a sloppy workmanship, and it just doesn't do the figure justice. So that's that. But it is, I mean, I do like a lot of the brown weathering and all that. Backside looks to be very clean. So yeah. Okay, so on to his accessories. He does have a blaster. Is the Droid Blaster. It's a little different from what we're used to. It's General Grievous's blaster, not the typical Droid Blaster. It's pretty cool. It's got some very metallic silver wash on the gunmetal gray. He can hold it with one hand. In the combined hand, it's very difficult to hold it because of the thickness of the handle. He comes with 4 different lightsabers, which is pretty cool. It's trademark General Grievous. Different hilts for each lightsaber. Thought this is pretty cool. Very accurate to the movie. This is my favorite. 2 green ones and 2 blue ones, which is just standard for General Grievous. Each of the lightsabers has removable blades, so you can have them unignited. What's interesting is that the new blades have, I'd say they're flared pegs, but they're on 3 levels, so they're more like ribbed pegs, so that there's more friction when you insert them. And it's not too difficult to slide them out, and it's not too difficult to slide them in. There's enough friction, but those ribbed pegs, they stay in nicely, and you can easily remove them. It goes for all lightsabers. I think that's a new thing Hasbro's trying, so that's pretty cool. I love the paint apps on each of the lightsabers. Just really, really nice. Okay. Then he has his cape. Interestingly enough, the cape doesn't have that insignia on the back. I don't know why. It's made of a thicker type of cloth. Actually, it's just a standard cloth, but it feels thick because there's an inner lining and the main cape. So I guess that's nice. This one I thought was Velcro, but it's not. It's actually sewed in. And he's got the pockets for the lightsabers. And I know I did a review once of the vintage collection General Grievous, and I said, why does he have pockets? Yes, I stand corrected. He does have pockets in his cape, and that's where you store the lightsabers. Okay, now the cape does go around his neck very nicely, like that, and you can sort of tuck it in right here. Give him that really nice hunched look, like how it is in the movie. So it's nice. I do love the cape, but one thing, let's talk about the bad about the cape. It's not really that bad, but I do feel that this piece right here that goes across his neck, it feels like it's a Velcro, and it feels like it's a child's costume. When in fact, if you look back at episode 2, Attack of the Clones, you get to see General Grievous with a cape that's kind of just nestles underneath his armor. Much like Superman or Batman, the cape just comes out of nowhere. And if you look closely, you don't see that flap right there or anything like that. It just goes underneath his neck armor. So a little bit inaccurate here and there, but all in all, I thought it was pretty okay. Yeah, no wire. I guess you can put wire if you want. You can customize it, but I'm quite happy that it doesn't have wire, so it's just free flowing. You can have him wield the swords. You can have him pose nicely, even with the cape. And before I forget, one last feature about this figure, which is very accurate to the movie and cartoon, is you can join both arms on either side of his body together. And there are tabs that will allow you to combine both arms and form a single arm. Like this. Okay, and then the fists, they do have a peg that will allow you to combine them together like that. Okay, so that's pretty cool. You got a solid arm for General Grievous. You can move outward, inward, and it can move forward and backward because there is another ball joint right there, which I forgot to mention in articulation. That's pretty cool. However, for the elbows, they can't move forward and backward in this position. You'll have to swivel both biceps like this, and then off to the side, the elbow can bend like that. You do like, yarr! And he can't hold the blaster. It's very difficult. Maybe you can if you force it, but it's best if you just let him hold a single lightsaber in a combined arm. So that's pretty cool. And then, hello there, General Kenobi. I know, that's not the General Kenobi. I already sold my General Kenobi. So I have old Ben Kenobi. He scales nicely with old Ben Kenobi. Guess he'll have to do for now. And then here he is with Padme. So he's a towering figure that stands roughly about 7 inches tall. He's just like an 1/8 of an inch shy of 7 inches. So, all in all, I still think it's an excellent figure, despite its flaws. It has quality issues, a little bit on the shoulders, on tight joints. Just be careful with that. It's got stability issues with the feet and legs. But articulation-wise, the sculpt-wise, aesthetics, I love how the cape came out. The details and paint apps, the head sculpt, the lightsabers, the blasters, his armor, the whole overall aesthetic of the figure is absolutely amazing. And I think the figure deserves a 9 out of 10. If it weren't for all these quality issues and a little bit disappointing with the legs and all that, I would have gotten a perfect score. But as it is, it's still an excellent figure and a worthy addition to any Star Wars collector for the 1/12 scale. I absolutely love it. This has been the Star Wars The Black Series 6-inch General Grievous. Thanks for watching. Alright, so I went back to our toys and I did pick up a second General Grievous Black Series figure. And I'm really hoping I'm not that unlucky twice in a row. I mean, man, just my dumb luck with Hasbro products, with Obi-Wan Kenobi, the old man Ben Kenobi Black Series figure. I mean, you've seen my first 10 years Marvel Legends figures. I mean, please, I'm hoping this one is a perfect figure. So, I will be doing a separate unboxing video for this second General Grievous. And do stay tuned for that.